In our previous video about the Twilight Zone, we covered the 5 best episodes of Season 1, and now we have the 5 worst episodes of Season 1. That doesn't mean all these episodes are absolutely horrendous, but out of the 36 that were released for Season 1, that's right, there are 36 episodes of Twilight Zone, there are 5 that I think are subpar, and we're going to start with number 5, and it's called 16mm Shrine. With an intriguing opening and a great director, Idea Lupino, who was one of the few female directors of the 40s and 50s. I especially liked her 1953 movie, The Hitchhiker. She specialized in film noir movies, but here she's starring in the episode, and they should have her behind the camera, because that's really where she shines. It is just simply a Sunset Boulevard ripoff. It's shot exactly like Sunset Boulevard. It features an aging starlet, but it's not anywhere close to as good. And when an episode is so similar to, in this case, a famous movie by Billy Wilder, just makes you want to watch that movie. When you see a cheap knockoff of Jurassic Park, just makes you want to watch Jurassic Park. I don't watch Carnosaur. I can just watch the original one that inspired it. So Ida Lupino plays Barbara, who sits in her private screening room watching her old films on projector. Yeah, that's right. That's the way you had to watch films back then, which is why basically nobody could afford it, or VHS and Betamax took over. And there's not much science fiction here to speak of. The best parts are where you actually see some of her old movies, and then she ends up going into the movie. Her essence goes into the screen. Not much happens. It's pretty drab. And while I absolutely love Sunset Boulevard, it's my second favorite movie after Blade Runner. This one is too close to a copy while doing nothing innovative. I mean, this is the Twilight Zone. They could have given it an awesome supernatural twist. Sunset Boulevard was a straight film noir movie. This is a science fiction series, and instead, they just rest on their laurels. It's a little below average and also the 5th worst episode of Season 1. The 4th worst episode is Judgment Night. This was episode 10 of Season 1, and actually almost redeems itself by featuring a very short action scene. Carl Lansard is aboard the SS Queen of Glasgow, a British cargo liner, and he has amnesia. He has no idea how he got on this boat, who he is, where he's from, and most of the episode is him walking around going, "Who am I? Where am I from?" But the only memory he does have is he's very scared of a German U-boat attack. Yeah, this is 1942, the height of World War II, and before the British Army was really able to deal with these German submarines. So it plays on a real fear. It's a good setup, and there's a small action scene. So what's wrong with this episode? Why would this be the 4th worst one? Well, this would have been a good time to give some history. Rod Serling does a lot of stuff about World War II, since he served as an Army paratrooper in the Pacific. But this 22-minute episode could just be summed up in 3 minutes. He walks around, doesn't know where he's from. The acting is not good from the main character. There's one cool action scene, and then there is a twist at the end where he learns that actually he's part of the German army, not the British army. An example of one with potential that doesn't fulfill it. There could have been more clues, there could have been more history. The action scene they had should have been extended much further, where they get attacked by this U-boat. Sometimes when you have an intriguing premise and you don't deliver, that's actually worse than having a middling premise that you do a decent job with. Like if you just do like a haunted house episode, there's been a billion haunted house episodes, but if it's competently done, you could still give it a 5 or a 6. But if you have an interesting premise, like a U-boat attack, and then nothing happens for the vast majority of the episode, then it seems like completely wasted potential. That's the way I feel about Judgment Night. Interesting premise that had me snoozing a bit. The 3rd worst episode of Season 1. Episode 18, The Last Flight. Yes, I'm making some controversial decisions, but it's my channel. I own it. And I love the hate comments. Give them to me. This is episode 18, and it's not about World War II like the last one I covered. It's about World War I. Lieutenant William Terence Decker, a very posh name, is part of the British Air Force. Well, the Royal Flying Corps is what they're called in World War I. Is in a dogfight, and he flies through a cloud and gets transported from 1917 into 1960. And it is funny seeing his tiny little biplane landing on this American airbase in France, and seeing how much technology has moved forward from planes in 1917 to now 1959, where they have giant cargo planes. In fact, seeing these planes around 1960 shows you how little they've changed in the last 60 years. I mean, when are they going to make these things go faster? As a kid growing up, we hear about the Concorde, and yet still all the planes still go like 600 miles per hour. When are they going to go faster? And this is a very detailed story, but the best parts are him landing on this air base He then tries to convince the people that it's actually 1917. The problem I keep running into this series, when someone has amnesia, they simply spend the entire episode, a lot of times, just trying to convince people that it's really this time period, when it's another time period, when really they could be building the story up more. But there is a deep story here. I just don't think it's that intriguing. The history is interesting. They make fun of his uniform and the fact that he calls it the Royal Flying Corps. It's written by Richard Matheson. This can be a recurring theme. Not that much happens. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Maybe I'm in deja vu. He finds out his partner Alexander is now an air vice marshal, and then tries to figure out if he really was a hero. He thought he was, considering Alexander served in World War I and would go on to serve in World War II. This really needed a better defined villain. Everyone's in shades of gray here, or this has been a great time for his vice air marshal. Try to get him killed, to try to chase him off, to try to shut him up from telling this story. There's also too many characters. It's not even until halfway through the episode that we start to realize what's happening here. And the one person that knows the truth, Alexander, is still alive, even though William Decker thought he died during this dogfight in 1917. A defined villain, more action, and maybe a better reason for him going back in time. He does eventually get to go back to 1917. But I just wasn't feeling this one. The second worst episode of Twilight Zone Season 1, Episode 6, Escape Clause, about a guy who can't die, where of course the devil offers Walter Bedecker immortality and a stop to his physical aging. So this sounds like a great deal. Now you might think, okay, the devil's here to screw him over, but really, Walter Bedecker is just a moron. He screws himself over. Seems like the devil is like the good guy in this scenario. So Bedecker starts doing insurance fraud, throwing himself in front of cars, just like you can do in Saints Row 2. Setting himself on fire, putting his hands on a hot stove. Nothing hurts him, he feels no pain, and he can't die. What he does at the end is so dumb that it just had me shaking my head. Like, everything's going fine for him. He doesn't seem like a especially dumb guy. There's really no moral here to the story. He has immortality, and he decides to murder his girlfriend Ethel because, yeah, get this, he wants to go to jail because he wants to experience the electric chair. Because he's so tired of not being able to die. He's tired of the thrills and all the money. He wants to really experience something that money can't buy, which is an electric chair, which is not true. He has all the money in the world. He could buy an electric chair. I don't know, get one on the black market or something. Go to the mob. Ask them for an electric chair. Someone to jerry-rig some electric chair. Just take a fork and put it in a socket or something. This is such a ridiculous ending. I'm gonna have to knock it down to the second worst episode. Believe it or not, this genius plan of him getting the electric chair doesn't work because they decide to give him life in prison. And considering he can never die, which he should have thought about this before. Also, you would have to spend so many years in prison before you even go to trial, before you even get the electric chair. Like, he's just going to throw away years of his life just to experience an electric shock. I hate the ending. There's some good parts and funny parts up until that, like when he's doing insurance fraud. Kind of funny. You can imagine some guy just throwing yourself in front of a car and getting hit and then rolling off and be like, I'm good, cheerio. But I can't stand the ending, so it ruined it for me. There's also no moral here whatsoever. Like, don't take a deal with the devil that gives you immortality and then kill someone to experience an electric chair. Okay, no problem. I won't do it. I'll just get immortality and do cool things. Like go skydiving with no parachute. That would be a cool thing. And what you've all been waiting for, the worst episode of Season 1 of The Twilight Zone. It's episode 35, The Mighty Casey. For these episodes, I gave them all an individual score when I reviewed each episode individually. For this entire season, there's not one that's absolutely horrendous. None of these got a 1 or a 2. I find with The Twilight Zone, there's at least a few things in the episode that are creative, such as this one. The Mighty Casey, it's about a robot pitcher who goes to save a baseball team called the Hoboken Zephyrs, who are on a huge losing streak. They need a pitcher. So a guy offers them a robot. And believe it or not, they don't try to hide the fact that he's a robot. They actually go to the baseball. There's a scene where they're talking to the baseball commissioners on whether a robot could actually serve as a pitcher. They decide to give the robot a heart so that he could be a real person, but he gets a heart so he feels bad about striking people out. Also, nothing really indicates that this guy is a robot. He has a little bit of a robot cadence, but we don't see how he is made. We don't even see that much baseball action. I went over in my review how this had just a disastrous filming schedule where they had to replace huge characters halfway through, where they couldn't get the rights. Some of this is filmed in Wrigley Field. but it's empty Wrigley Field and some scenes are filmed elsewhere. They wanted to reshoot part of it, but they couldn't get any financing. So I see this how this episode could have been a 5 or a 6, but it does seem stitched together, and they're just way over their heads trying to pull off a baseball episode with such a low budget that keeps getting cut and they have to replace people. Like Paul Douglas was the original manager, which is a huge role in this episode. He ended up dying, unfortunately, from a heart attack, so they had to replace his entire role and reshoot stuff. It's patched together. You don't see any robot parts. You see very little baseball. You see them kind of standing around in the dugout, but actual scenes where they're playing baseball. You don't really see any crowds that aren't just used from other movies. And this could have been a good one to build some tension with, like seeing Casey at the mound, striking people out, then getting this heart and realizing he doesn't want to do it anymore. That's actually not what happens. He just goes up to them at the end and says he doesn't want to play anymore. We don't actually see any internal struggle while he's on the diamond. In fact, we see him on the diamond basically never, because they couldn't do it. So I feel a little bad giving this the worst episode, since it has such a troubled production schedule, but we have to be objective here. I don't think this one's very good, and I think Rod Serling would agree with me if he was here. He would bring up the mighty Casey and he'd put his hands on his head and go, "Oh, I hated filming that one." Thanks for watching. We'll be covering season 2 shortly, every single episode. I like doing on this channel, covering every single episode of a series. Also doing Black Mirror, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and Mystery Science Theater 3000. And we do live streams of the Monster series. Thank you.